Yo, what's poppin'? So 3 games from NA today. The first day of week 9. One of the games pretty good. Uh, Playoff clinching games. One of them had some moments, and the first one, London Spitfires Bears Eternal, was a pretty much what we expected. And it's kind of a London roll. So London 6-3 with a +4 map differential. Paris 1-8 with a -18. Ends up being a 3-0 for London. Waste is a 2-0 for London. I was eating, so I did not take the note taking, but I did watch. And London just kind of dominated, right? Sombras were on both sides in City Center. And then London were the only ones that played the Sombra on Gardens, which I thought was pretty odd to see Sombras on both sides. It's not irregular for teams to play the Sombra, but I don't know. Seeing both sides play it like they have is kind of weird. So London were playing Backbone Sparker, Hadi, Admiral Landon. Paris playing Dove Wub, Don Drudro, and Khan. And then so after that domination from on Oasis, go to Iconwall, which is a 3-1 for London. Jax comes in for Backbone, and then Backbone comes in for Admiral on the support, and Vestola comes in for Dan. So very odd to see Backbone on support. Why is he on support? Well, the offense, London run Tracer, Sojourn, Winston, Brig, Ana, and Paris run Sojourn, Genji, Sigma, Brig, Zen. And eventually Backbone swaps over to the Zen off the Brig, but it's like I don't know why. He didn't do better than Admiral could have done. I would think he didn't do badly. It was okay, but it's like why did this happen? I don't know if they were trolling on London or on Paris rather. I don't know what the goal was, but they won the map. Um, on the offense, they kind of get through A after a little bit, but they do. And Wub kind of missteps. Howdy gets a good dive off. They make it through and they kind of roll through B. And then London ended up finishing the map with 7 seconds remaining after they roll through B. So they are held up on C for a bit, but, you know, London Gaming. So Paris is on the offense. They're playing into Tracer, Sojourn, Winston, and Ana, while Paris themselves play Sojourn, Genji, Sigma, and Brig Zen. And it's pretty much like London are holding strong on the first points for a bit. Like on A, they hold strong for a while. Then they go to B, they hold at the beginning for a while before they kind of peter out. They actually let Paris kind of push a bit because they have ults available and they just choose not to use them, I guess. And they go to the final point on B. They give them the one fight, and then they do win that fight eventually. But am I lying? Maybe I'm lying. Yeah, no. Paris didn't get through B at all. They gave them that early fight. Like they were holding at the start. They gave the fight, and then they just hold more. I don't know how much to say there. London very strong at times. Paris just used their ults, and London didn't. And then London was like, okay, we're just gonna cycle our ults now. Circuit Royale was a 3-2 for London. Backbone came in for Shax. Poco came in for Hadi, and Admiral comes back in for Backbone. On the Paris offense, we have London playing Genji, Sojourn, Sigma, Brig, Zen on the defense. Paris playing Sojourn, Genji, Sigma, Brig, Zen. So mirror comps, and you'll notice no Widowmaker, which I'm a little surprised about. I thought Dove Widowmaker was pretty good, and I would have liked to see it. I understand Barker on the Sojourn because he's very talented at the Sojourn. But Dove Widowmaker I really did expect, and it just wasn't there. But yeah, so eventually Paris make it into B quite easily. Really, 4 minutes into B. Backbone hits a blade and forces Trank, and he dies, but then Poco gets a big flux, so that's good. And Paris kind of just walk into London at times. Like there were times where Paris would like lose a guy and they just walk into London. Paris are getting a lot of push for free on the C site, on C point. So London make it in the C eventually, right? They just kind of grind it out. They have 4 minutes. It's hard not to. And they get a lot of push for free because London are just sitting way back on the high ground. But then London eventually drop down on them. Backbone hits a good blade, and then London kind of set up at the choke, right at the beginning of C, and hold on as Paris try to push to the end. So it's a pretty decent offense, right? Getting on the C is good. You don't finish the map, but that's okay. Usually, oftentimes, it's okay. Like, it's not a bad push. On London's offense, quite good because they do end up winning. So London playing Genji, Sojourn, Sigma, Brig, Zen. Same thing for Paris. Paris try to hold the corner, but it doesn't work because Vestola dies and Paris dies. And they contest at the end of A, but Vistola dies early again, and London have 445 into B, which is quite good, right? So then there's a time Vistola gets a flux and forces Trank, and Poker hits a flux, but Vistola rocks him out of it. But London still win the fight because Sparker is a god. Sparker's just so good. And London just kind of keep on moving. They fend off the recontest, and they enter C with 430. So now you have 430 going to C, which is just spectacular. And Paris do the same thing that London were doing. Really, they're just sitting up on the high ground, letting London push her free. But Paris don't drop on them where London does, and they kind of just let London push it to the end because they try to drop for a recontest at the end, but it's just not there. So overview for this match, London were just better in every way. Right, Backbone was impressing. Even on the Zenyatta, he had a good Genji game, he had a good Mei game, and he had a decent Zenyatta game. So just a solid game. London didn't even play the rush. They didn't play. I don't even think they played rush. I don't remember it. That's crazy. He didn't even play Mei. He was just playing Genji Sombra. Okay, go crazy. So it had a good match, especially not on the Mei. For him to not be on the Mei was good. And Paris looked like about as expected. I don't think they looked worse than they did, but I don't think they looked better. So time to play the match can go to Sparker. Just a Sojourn diff, right? Winning fights so often, just killing Paris a lot. Sparker is really a special player on the Sojourn, I think, and he needs to be in that conversation for best Sojourns in NA at least, because you have Kai right at the top, right? But Sparker should be somewhere like in that top bit. I think he's really solidified himself as a good Sojourn. So I'm 0-2. The Houston Outlaws 6-3 with a +6 map differential against the Atlanta Reign, who is 6-4 with a +5. It's being a 3-2 victory for Houston. So Houston secure the upset and secure a spot in the midseason Madness tournament. So Lee Jung is a 2-0 for Atlanta. Houston playing Pelican, Merit, Dante, Lastro, Iris. Atlanta playing Kai, Venom, Hawk, UV, and OG. Control Center goes the way of Atlanta. Kai gets picked very early, and Atlanta kept back, but then they just kind of go in. They don't not like so early that they actually can still contest the first flip, so they get the first cap in the end. And then there's some big comp changes. Lastro switch over the Brig, Iris switch over the BAP. Venom forces power block early on Dante, so he can't go in, and Atlanta just walk onto him, and they're getting held quite harshly onto that in that choke. Then UV Cole wins a fight. Houston int on the Kai, which is what they end up doing a lot in this series. It leads to them flipping, but Atlanta come back and they find the flip. I don't know if you guys can hear the fireworks. It is Canada Day, so if you hear any, standard. But yeah, so Lastro hits a rally early. Dante ints on the Kai again, and he ends up trading for Kai, but that's still a victory for Kai because he traded for a tank. Atlanta engage with Cole again, they win, and that's just how the control center goes. Just a wrap. Houston really Kai, the amount of pressure that Kai puts on is really immense. And Houston have to commit so many resources to try and stop him that it's almost not like it's not that it's not worth it, but Atlanta has other ways to win. If you put all your resources on the Kai, there's not enough resources to stop other players like Venom, who is very talented as well. Night Market, Houston playing the same comp, Atlanta also playing the same comp, and it's just more of the same. Atlanta gets first control. Hawk's doing a lot more than Dante. Nano Dante happens, but Atlanta don't care. And Atlanta just kind of steamroll. Houston don't really get anything going. Hawk's hit counter diving quite well. And Kai is doing a lot. So Kai's doing a lot, right? Which is already something that Houston have to focus on, trying to stop Kai from doing a lot. Venom's also pressuring Dante a lot. You'll notice that he forces power block early a lot. And then this kind of makes Hawk free to do whatever he wants. Because the pressure on Dante lets Hawk just win. So that's the first map. Kings Row is a 3-1 for Houston. Piggy comes in for Dante, and Yara comes in for Venom. So Houston's offense, not gonna lie, wasn't looking. And I saw Houston have just cap 2 points, and then Atlanta won one fight on C, and then they lose. And then Houston cap with 316. So I don't really know. I believe Atlanta was on a Hanzo Genji to start their defense. Not sure if that's what you want. Just leave Kai on Sojourn, probably. Atlanta's offense. Houston plays the Mei, Sojourn, Ryan, Lucio, Bap. Atlanta plays Sojourn, Hanzo, Dooms, and Bap. And it looks pretty bad for a bit. But because Atlanta just take angles around the Houston comp, and they slowly like poke them out, and they just die. But on B, they get to the end of B, and then there's no more angles to take, right? Houston are aren't really scared of anything because they're playing the double sniper. They're playing the Sojourn, Hanzo, Zenbap, Doom. The Doomfist kind of weird because everyone else is super pokey, but Doom wants to go in and dive. So he has to he's acting like a ball in a way, as in he's trying to find angles and misposition players so that the snipers or the Zen or the BAP even can catch them out. But it's just not there. Between the Mei and the Ryan, you can't do anything with those. Lucio is very hard to get in this position, and then and you can't really slam onto the back, right? Because you're not a ball. So it's actually very hard for Hawk to get anything done, and there's no natural angles that Atlanta can take, especially because Pelican on the Mei is kind of controlling the high ground, and dissuading them from taking angles up there. Kind of acting like a diva almost, or like an off tank, just controlling the high ground. And then he can, of course, he can drop down and find a good wall or find something if he needs to, but he's starting up on the high ground. So it just comes down to Atlanta's unable to find the necessary angles to poke out Houston's rush Ryan composition, and Houston ended up winning 3-1. I'm not too sure what happened on the defense. I didn't see it, but I can assure you Genji Hanzo is probably not the truth. So Route 66 is a 3-2 for Atlanta. There was a long pause here, and I actually played a match with Overwatch 2 because I wanted to, because I thought it would last longer, but I missed the first half. But it ends up being a 3-2 for Atlanta. Atlanta pushed pretty solidly. I don't remember. I think they capped with time even. I don't know if I'm mistaken. Or maybe they held at the end. I don't remember. But anyway, Houston's offense, right? They're playing Genji, Sojourn, Sigma, Zenana. Atlanta playing Sojourn, Tracer, Sigma, Bat, Brig. And Houston were looking strong as they were pushing through. They rolled through A pretty much. 310 in the B is pretty good. That's not a roll, I guess, 2 minutes or something probably. So Pelican eventually gets them through with a Nano Blade. Then they head into B with 310, right? Houston are looking good in the B, but Atlanta come out and contest them. But then Houston make a really smart play, as in Atlanta come out with the rally, but then they cut back, and then Houston comes back at them with a Flux and Blade combo to force out resources, and they head into C with 235. So 235 entering C is pretty good, pretty decent. But then Atlanta stabilized because you're playing it into the super long sight line. You are relying on Merit to diff Kai, basically. That's your only real pressure on him, because Genji is not reliable to get all the way into the back line and pressure Kai, especially with the power slide. And Kai just kind of wins, right? Kai, UV, do their thing, and then they stabilize on C. But Houston did look strong as they pushed, but once you got to C, there were just not enough angles to stop Kai. And then New Queen Street happens. It ends up being a completed map for Houston to 49 meters for Atlanta, and Nero comes in for Kai. So Atlanta just subbed out their MVP caliber player, the widely considered best Sojourn, who was a very strong character this patch, subbed them out for some reason, to play Sombra, Tracer, Diva, Moira, Lucio. Houston playing just Genji, Sojourn, Dooms, and Ana. They don't feel the need to do anything crazy. And it doesn't look good. The Diva just insta-dives. He leaves on him for 2 fights. He dives on the last round and he dies. The next fight, he dies early again. Hawk eventually swaps over to Doom, and Yuffie swaps to Ana, and Nero swaps over to Sojourn, but now you have Nero on Sojourn, and you're like, what are you doing? What are you doing if your plan is to ever put Nero on Sojourn? Ever. I don't know. Merit's playing very well. Merit, with no Kai to contest him, it's just Merit all day. Not saying that Nero is horrible at Sojourn, but compared to Kai, he is. He just is, actually. Because Kai is that guy. And now that Kai's gone, Merit can do whatever he wants. And Houston just push, and they just complete the map. I think they had 2 minutes remaining or something. No Kai, no win. And you know what? They do it again. They say, no, we're gonna leave Kai out. We don't want to talk about Kai. We don't feel the need to put him in. I don't know, man. I don't know. Ruins. I did not write down who won the Ruins. I believe it was Houston. Houston win Ruins. Playing Genji, Sojourn, Doom, Lucio, Ana, and Atlanta again running the 6-man kind of, the Sombra, Tracer, Moira, Lucio, Doom. But the Sombra's not finding enough value, especially compared to what Kai would be doing on Sojourn. Or on Widowmaker, it's Ruins. He could be on that guy as well. Pelican's doing a lot. The Sombra's not doing a lot. Atlanta's really lacking firepower without Kai in. Venom is doing good on Tracer, but the Sojourn difference is there. It's real. Lighthouse ends up being a victory for Atlanta. I didn't take any notes because we were arguing in call about if ants could climb up the 5-story building that I'm on. I think that an ant could climb up it quite easily. But I don't know. Some people disagree. It was very, very distracting from the game. But I mean, whatever. So there's more of that, but it's a crazy map. It comes down to 99.99. Venom at the very end. This very fight. This is what you want to watch it. If this final map, this final round was crazy. So it comes down to OT 99.99. Let's just put it there. Venom kills 3, but he blinks into the well and dies. So he trades his life for 3 basically. Hawk also kills like 2, and then he also falls into the well. So now Atlanta have people, but Houston have made it back with Lastro and Iris. Iris gets the nano onto Lastro, and he lives long enough for the rest of Houston to come back. And then it still looks like it could be a Atlanta win, but we'll never know because they C9, and in the end, it's because Nero hits the copy, meteor strikes, and doesn't come down fast enough, and the rest of Atlanta leave a point. But it was a crazy round, super pop-off moments. Venom playing his round. Venom is a known Ilios performer, and he plays it well. But it's hard to tell if they win if they don't C9. It's very possible, though. The overview, it's a pretty banger of a match. There are times where Atlanta looked much better. There are times where Houston looked much better. But at the end, that final map, it was anyone's game. I still don't know. I don't believe in subbing out Kai, ever. He's just your best player. Just keep him in. He's one of the best players in NA. Just leave in Kai. Doesn't make any sense. Especially if you ever consider playing Sojourn, just leave in Kai. Like, I understand maybe you want to play Echo Tracer on Lighthouse and Well, but it's like you can play Sojourn on these maps. You lost to the Sojourn on these maps. Like, it's not like that's a bad Sojourn map. You can just do it. So I don't know. I would never bench one of the most dynamic players in the league ever, basically. Thompson player of the match is going to go to Merit because he stepped up once Kai was gone, and it's not on like sure, maybe if Kai was there he wouldn't have been able to step up the same, but he wasn't there, so he comes in, he steps up big time, he makes the big plays that Houston need right beside Pelican, and he doesn't miss a step. Never played well. So yeah, Houston complete the upset. I believe Houston could do it. I didn't know if they would, and I didn't think it'd be in that fashion. But yeah, so moving on to the 7-2 LA Gladiators, the +6 map differential against the 5-4 Toronto Defiant with a +5 map differential. Ends up being a 3-1 Gladiators victory despite Toronto rolling the first map. Where have I seen this one before? So sad. Ilios ended up being a 2-0 for Toronto, right? Gladiators playing Kester, Pelican. Oh, hell no, they ain't playing Pelican, bro. Playing Kevster, Patafan, Reiner, Chu, Skewed. Toronto playing Hisu, Finale, Muse, Chorong, and Twilight. So, well, Toronto winning the first fight, cap it out. Gladiators playing Echo, Tracer, Balls, and Brig. Toronto playing Sojourn, Tracer, Winston, Lucio, Ana. There's a time where Twilight gets caught out, but then Toronto end up not having the point flip because Finale and Chorong do a great stall. Toronto come back and they end up winning. And it was 100-0. So, Kevster didn't get a copy. He was really not doing the most on this well, on the Echo. He just wasn't. I don't know why. It looks like he should be able to in this comp. There's not really a lot to stop him. But I think Toronto were just playing so aggressively, and they were playing with so much synergy that it just wasn't there. On Ruins, it was 199 for Toronto, so quite closer. Gladiators playing Tracer, Sojourn, Doom, Zen, Bap, and Toronto playing Sombra, Tracer, Ball, Lucio, Moira, so some more Sombra gameplay. Finale win the first fight again. Finale and Hisu both do a lot, and the dive is really clean. They find dives on Patty and they win, and they just keep playing very aggressively and not letting Gladiators really be able to set up at all with their Doomfist or their Tracer, and they're just going in so fast. Eventually, Gladiators slip an OT, and Toronto also use ults there, so it takes them a bit to they didn't just say, "Oh, we'll let them take this." They use ults, so they have to build them back up. So the result of that is basically Gladiators get to 99, but Toronto do get enough ults to come through and win in overtime. I said, this is different. It looked winnable. It was good. They genuinely looked good. And Kevster was not doing the most. He was not looking great. As a Canada Day buff, it was here. It was real. I was ready for it. but it's just gone. It's gone as soon as it came in. Gladiators win 2-1 on King's Row. Hoppa comes in for Muse, and it's just the end. Gladiators offense playing Genji, Sojourn, Winston, Ana, Zen. Toronto playing Hanzo, Tracer, Sigma, Zen, Bap. It was looking good, right? At times, but Gladiators heading to be with 430 quite easily. They find the dive. I don't like the Sigma into the Winston that much. Toronto do stabilize off of Twilight being a good nade. Hoppa has a great performance where he kills both DPS and Flex. But and he kills skewed as well. He kills 3, but he dies, and then Hisu just forces Gladiators back, and it's at the end of B now. But Toronto move forward. They're holding on B. Potafon ends up breaking through with 2 on overclock. Kevster kills the rest, and they head into C with 130. But then Toronto hold on at the end of C. They basically give the first bit because they just died, I guess. But not horrible. Holding out, not bad. But their offense, it's not enough. God damn. Toronto's offense, they're playing the Hanzo, Genji, Sigmas, and Ana. No changes from the Gladiators on the Winston. And Toronto just kind of walk onto the point, get a free tick, end up getting 2 ticks. But the Gladiators end up on top at the end. But now that they have 2 ticks, Hoppa can again just walk onto the point. This time, Rhino dives the back line with Nano, and he dies. And Hoppa tries to flex him, but it's like he already killed the support, so I don't know why. But eventually, they do walk onto the point again and win. Finale has to blade to clean up, but they head in the B with 3 minutes, which is fine. That's a decent time. But then it's over. It just stops. The dive comes out too cleanly. Gladiators are consistently going deep. They're just ignoring Hoppa. He's not getting enough done. Potafan is going crazy. He's killing both supports. And in the final fight, he does a 2v1 and he just wins. He wins the 2v1. And not. So, Toronto had a solid beat defense, but their offense, not enough. Potafan went too crazy. The dive was too good. I don't love the Sigma into the Winston on King's Row. I just don't. It feels like the Sigma doesn't do enough to stop the Winston. The Winston dives the backline past the Sigma. Sigma can't do anything. The Rock can't get through, and there's just nothing he can do. And I don't know. We see teams doing it. I rate the Winston more. That's a solid map for both teams, but I don't love what I'm seeing from the Sigma comp for Toronto, which is unfortunate because we go to Circuit Royale, which is the Sigma comp map. So Circuit Royale, 3-1 for Gladiators, on comes for Patafon. We see space for the first time this stage, which is interesting. Maybe the allegations have died down, I would presume, because nothing really came of that. And apparently, Gladiators did an internal investigation and they found nothing. So, just I don't know. From the looks of things, it looks like it was just some randoms, really, trying to slander him. I don't know. We'll see if more stuff comes out, but it's been quiet for a while. The Gladiators offense, we see Hanzo, Widow, Sigma, Zen, Bap. Toronto playing Widow, Hanzo, Sigma, Break, Bap. So the only difference here is the Brigitte or the Zenyatta. So what is Brigitte doing in this composition? He's brawling in the front line. Is that really helpful? Not really, because Hoppa is still... it's supposed to be Hoppa. It says Muse there, but it's supposed to be Hoppa. Hoppa is still dying early. He's still getting poked out and dying. The Brigitte is doing oxygen. I don't like the Brigitte here at all. And we saw Chorong play the Zen last time, so we know he can do it. We saw it D-map before, and it looked decent. It looked good. Why are you on Brig now? I don't understand what it does. Toronto, on their defense, just not there. The snipers aren't there. The Gladiator snipers are doing more. The Sigma's doing more. It's just an overall compositional difference. They head into B with 4 minutes. They head into C with 420. It's just not there. Toronto snipers not finding the picks. Gladiators are just picking them apart. Hisu does have some pop-off moments at the very end of C. He kills like 3 to stop it, but the next fight, Gladiators just win anyway because Skew pulls up with the window and Hoppa dies and it's gone. So quite sad. Quite sad. This is the Toronto that I'm familiar with. On their offense, Hisu got an early pick, so Gladiator had to force back to the bend, but they're probably going to do that anyway. Hisu then kills Kevster and Shu as Finale dies. And Toronto do head into B with 445, which is good, but then they don't get anything more. They don't get past B at all. Kevster swaps with the Genji, and Toronto just kind of push up to the hill as nothing really happens. But then Chorong walks past the Hoppa shield and gets headshot by Ons. And then the rest of Toronto fall over, and then they never win a fight ever again or come close to it. Because Space hits some big flexes. Kevster is doing things on the Genji now. Ons is keeping Hisu at bay. Finale switches over to Tracer at times. Actually, he doesn't switch over to Tracer. He Dragon's Oxygen in the final fight, just not anywhere where anyone cares about. It was just sad, and Gladiators win the map. So, again, Toronto comp, the Sigma, not looking great. It looks okay, maybe sometimes, but it's just not, compared to the Gladiators, it's just not there. And Hoppa was consistently focused down and just died. And then once he dies, you just lose. You don't have any card presence. There's nothing to stop you. But Hisu, pretty quiet. Had some pop-off moments on the defense, on the offense at times, but no, just not there. And Finale just didn't look good on Hanzo. I know we had Aldo and Finale. They're both flex DPS players. Finale's your Tracer for sure. So what is Aldo? Because Finale's your Echo, and your Hanzo apparently, and your Tracer, and your Genji. So what is Aldo on this team for? He's not here to play Hanzo at least. Like, what is he here for? No idea. No idea. But just an overall diff. Coliseum ends up being a victory for Gladiators. I don't know what the score is exactly. Let me quickly look and see what the it was a 94-43 for the Gladiators, so not great. Tadafon comes back in, Reiner comes in, and Funny Astro comes in. We see him for the first time this series. Tracer playing Tracer, Sojourn, Doom, Ana, Lucio. Toronto playing Sojourn, Tracer, Winston, Lucio, Ana. So the only difference here, the Winston and the Doomfist. That's the only difference. And I don't know. I think I like the Doomfist a little more sometimes. It's hard to say. I think the Winston can be better, especially when you're not in the Zenyatta. So it's maybe not a compositional error here. It's just a team. It's just a team day. And honestly, it's because of a backline gap. I think a lot of the time, I thought that Shu and Funny Astro played better than Chorong and Twilight. There were multiple beats that Chorong hit that were just too late. They just were too late, and it wasn't there. Hisu and Finale were okay, but Podafon was doing so much on the Sojourn. Hisu wasn't doing bad, but Podafon was doing more. And same thing with Kevster and Finale, right? Neither of them were doing bad. They were winning fights for Toronto, but Kevster and Podafon were consistently doing more. Toronto never made it past the bridge, really. It's just not enough. Muse defaulting to Winston still isn't great, I think. But it's like the difference between Doom and Winston, whenever in this particular composition, is not that great. I think it's more of a style choice, and Toronto's just worse. But standard Toronto letting me down. We're gonna do crazy on the first map and then lose. So if they carry their first map momentum into other maps, they're a great team. The overview, Toronto came out swinging. Genuinely looked like the better team on Ilios. But that's it. That's the standard Toronto way. Sigma comp, not good enough. I don't like leaning into Sigma. It's again, I don't like playing Hoppa when you don't have to play Hoppa. Sure, play Hoppa on the Circuit Royale. I agree, it's better than playing Muse. But just play Muse on King's Row. You can play Doomfist. You can play Winston. We've seen it before. I don't know. There's no reason to stop it. You can even play the Muse Reinhardt if you must. Moby Dick can save him, maybe. I don't know. But especially like the Sigma, I don't know. I don't love it. I don't love it. And I'd love to see them play to their strengths more because their Muse comp looked better than their Hotback comp most of the time, especially Ilios. I know Coliseum was a little rough, but I don't know. Maybe Toronto's more of a momentum-based team, and if they lose that momentum, it's over. I don't know. Maybe that's copium. But the Thomas played the match got to go to Polyphon. Just unreal Sojourn gameplay. Really solidified himself as one of the premier Sojourn players, I thought, because he was doing a lot. I don't know. I think Kai is better, but he was definitely good, right? If Kai's the golden standard, he's like you can have him in the conversation with Sparker probably, and maybe I don't know. Maybe he's just a little below him. It's hard to say because Hisu really is like the most consistent member of Toronto. It's so hard to fault Hisu, I think, but that's gonna be it. 3-1 for the Gladiators. Let me know your thoughts on the games. So comment down below that. Like this video if you like. Subscribe for more daily overview content, and have yourself a good one. Thank you so much.